Welcome back to the quarterly call. All content is for informational purposes and is not investment advice. Please consult with an investment professional.
All right, let's dive in.
So we've been digging into Adobe's latest earnings, right? Their Q1 for fiscal year 2025. And wow, there's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, no kidding. Record revenue, for one.
Over $5.7 billion.
A cool 11% jump from last year.
It's wild. And it's not just the revenue that's up. The earnings per share are looking good, too.
Oh, absolutely. GAAP EPS was 414.
But non-GAAP EPS was over $5.
508 to be exact. That's a 13% bump year over year.
So things are definitely moving in the right direction profit-wise. And you know what else is interesting?
What's that?
They're sticking to their guns with their financial targets for the whole year.
Yeah, that's a really good sign. It shows they're feeling pretty confident about the rest of the year, that this momentum is going to keep going.
Absolutely. And speaking of looking ahead, they've got their Adobe Summit and Investor Meeting coming up soon, right? We should get some juicy details about their growth strategy there, especially how they're tackling this whole AI explosion.
Oh, yeah. AI is the elephant in the room for pretty much every tech company these days.
Totally. And it seems like Adobe is really thinking strategically about how AI plays out for different kinds of customers. That's why they've restructured their financial reporting, right?
Yep, they've switched things up.
It's all about these two main customer groups now, business professionals and consumers, and then creative and marketing professionals.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
It gives us a much clearer picture of how their strategy is actually working, especially at that intersection of productivity and creativity and how that ties into marketing.
It's a really smart way to look at it because the lines are getting blurrier all the time,
Oh, yeah, totally. It's not just about Creative Cloud versus Document Cloud anymore. It's about how all these different users are using the tools to do their thing.
Exactly. And, when you look at the whole digital media business, which includes both of those clouds, the numbers are pretty impressive.
They really are.
Yeah.
Over $4 billion in revenue.
4.23 billion, to be precise, a 12% increase year over year.
And their ARR, their annualized recurring revenue, grew by over 12% too, hit a whopping $17.63 billion.
Wow. Talk about sticky.
It just goes to show how crucial their core offerings are. These creative and document management tools are just essential for so many people.
No doubt. And it seems like both Creative Cloud and Document Cloud are doing really well.
Right, there's no weak link.
That they're both pulling their weight.
Mm-hmm.
But let's drill down a bit into those new customer segments. What's driving all this growth we're seeing with business professionals and consumers?
So a big part of it seems to be how tightly they've integrated Acrobat and Express. And of course, the AI assistant is a huge factor too.
Usage has literally doubled quarter over quarter for the AI assistant.
That's crazy. It shows you how quickly people are embracing these AI features,
Totally. They're finding real value in having AI help them out with everyday tasks.
It's like having a super efficient assistant built right into your software. And it's not just happening within Adobe's own ecosystem either. They're partnering with all kinds of other platforms.
Oh, right, like Miro and Box and Webflow and HubSpot.
Exactly. They're really focused on creating these smooth, seamless workflows for users. And they're seeing great results too. Acrobat's monthly active users are up 23% year over year.
That's huge. Acrobat is still such a major player in the digital world.
Absolutely essential. And they're smartly leveraging that massive user base to boost Express adoption too. Engagement with Express features from Acrobat users has increased tenfold.
That's a brilliant strategy. They're pulling people into Express through a platform they already use and love.
Yeah, it's a really smart way to expand their reach.
Plus, they're making serious inroads with businesses and students. They added 6,000 new Business Express users just this quarter.
Impressive.
And the number of students with Premium Express access grew by 85% year over year.
Wow. They're really hitting all the right notes.
Yeah.
And when you see big names like AT&T and Delta and Disney and JP Morgan Chase signing on, they're doing something right.
No doubt. Those are some serious endorsements. Okay, so we've talked about business professionals and consumers, but what about the creative side of things?
Well, on that front, Photoshop just celebrated its 35th anniversary.
Wow, 35 years. That's iconic.
And it's still going strong. But they're not just resting on their laurels, they're innovating like crazy too. The new Photoshop mobile app and the expanded web experience are generating a ton of buzz.
Over 30 million social engagements, they said.
It's really impressive to see a pro-level tool like Photoshop resonating so strongly on these new platforms.
This shows you how much the creative landscape is changing, right? People are working across all sorts of devices now.
Absolutely. And Adobe is right there with them, meeting them where they are. But one of the most exciting things they talked about was the release of their Firefly video model.
Yeah, the commercially safe one.
That's a key differentiator for sure.
Especially with all the concerns about intellectual property and AI, it's really reassuring for businesses.
Right. They can use Firefly without worrying about legal headaches. And some big names are already on board, like Dentsu, PepsiCo, and Stagwell.
That's huge.
And they've also got the dedicated Firefly app now with different tiers: Standard, Pro, Premium.
And people are loving it. Over 90% of paid users are actually making videos with it.
That's incredible. You don't see that kind of adoption rate very often for a brand new product. It really shows the demand for this kind of AI-powered video creation.
Absolutely. But the really amazing thing is how deeply integrated AI is becoming across their whole creative suite.
Oh yeah, it's not just a standalone thing anymore.
Over a third of Photoshop's monthly active users are using the Gen AI features, and it's almost the same for Lightroom.
That's a huge percentage. And get this, over 20 billion assets have already been created with Firefly.
It's mind-blowing. AI is becoming so essential to the creative process.
Yeah, it's changing the game. And it's not just about still images either. They're using AI to make video editing better in Premiere Pro and After Effects.
And even improving performance in Illustrator.
They're really going all in on AI.
And it's not just for individual creators either. Big companies like Deloitte Digital and IBM and Tapestry are using Firefly services and custom models.
That's right. The enterprise demand for this stuff is enormous. They want to create tons of high-quality content, and they want it to be on-brand and consistent. AI is the key to making that happen.
So basically, across both of these customer segments, we're seeing strong growth, just driven by different needs and products.
Exactly. Business professionals need tools to be more productive and efficient, while creative professionals need tools to push the boundaries of what's possible.
But AI is the common thread that connects them both. Now, let's switch gears a bit and talk about their digital experience business.
So on that front, they had a really solid quarter. Over $1.4 billion in revenue.
Most of that was subscription revenue too, right?
Yeah, $1.3 billion to be exact. That's an 11% increase year over year.
Wow, so the digital experience business is definitely booming.
It is. And their focus there is all about helping companies create those personalized experiences at scale, really connecting with their customers.
And what's driving that growth specifically?
Well, the Adobe Experience Platform is a big one. They saw almost 50% year-on-year subscription growth there.
That's a huge jump. It must be really resonating with businesses.
Yeah, they're really nailing it with the Experience Platform. And I've also got this cool new thing called Real-Time CDP Collaboration.
CDP.
It stands for Customer Data Platform. Basically, it lets advertisers and publishers work together more closely on first-party data.
Oh, interesting. That's super relevant right now with all the changes in privacy regulations.
Oh, yeah, totally. Third-party cookies are going the way of the dodo, so first-party data is becoming super valuable.
Makes sense.
And some major companies are already testing it out, like Altera Mountain Company and Coca-Cola.
So Adobe is positioning itself as a leader in this new privacy-focused world.
For sure. And they're also making it easier and cheaper for companies to move to the cloud.
How so?
Well, they launched an AEM Cloud Service Accelerator with Publicis Sapient. AEM is their content management system.
So they're basically removing the barriers to cloud adoption.
Exactly. They want to make it as smooth and painless as possible for businesses to make that switch. And you know what else is really interesting?
What?
Firefly is making a big splash in the digital experience world, too.
So it's not just a creative tool, it's a business tool too.
Exactly. It's all about using AI to create personalized content at scale.
Sounds powerful.
It is.
Okay.
And they've already built over 1,400 custom models for businesses.
Wow, that's a lot of custom models.
Yeah, it shows you how much demand there is for this kind of technology. And their Gen Studio for performance marketing is gaining traction, too.
What does that do?
It uses AI to help companies optimize their marketing campaigns. Make sure they're getting the most bang for their buck. Yeah, and they've got some big names using it, like AT&T and Lenovo. They're also partnering with some major players like Google and Meta and Microsoft Ads.
And big agencies too, like Accenture and EY.
Right. Plus, they've got this specific collaboration with Dentsu called Adobe Gen Studio Dentsu Plus ON.
So they're really building out a whole ecosystem around their AI-powered marketing tools.
Absolutely. They're not just building the technology, they're building the partnerships to make sure it's widely adopted.
And that's reflected in their customer wins, right? They're signing on a lot of new clients.
Yeah, from all sorts of industries.
So it's clear that AI is playing a huge role in Adobe's success across the board.
No doubt. It's not just a buzzword for them. It's core to their strategy.
They're even breaking out how much money they're making from their AI products.
Yeah, they said their book of business from AI-first products was over $125 million at the end of Q1,
That's a lot of money.
and they expect that to double by the end of the year.
Wow, that's some serious growth.
And remember, that's just new business. It doesn't even include the impact AI is having on their core subscriptions.
So AI is helping them attract new customers, keep existing customers happy, and increase the value of their products.
It's a win-win-win.
And speaking of winning, let's talk about those new revenue categories again. How are those segments doing on the subscription front?
Well, the Creative and Marketing Professionals Group is at $3.92 billion in subscription revenue.
So up 10% year over year.
That's pretty solid. But the Business Professionals and Consumers Group is growing even faster.
Up 15% to hit $1.53 billion.
Yeah, they're really on a roll.
It'll be interesting to see how those growth rates evolve over time.
Definitely.
Now, what about their share buyback program?
Oh, yeah, they repurchased a whopping $3.25 billion worth of shares in Q1.
Wow.
And they still have $14.4 billion left under their current authorization.
So they're definitely putting their money where their mouth is.
Yeah, they're confident in their future. They see value in their stock.
Absolutely. And they've also given us a sneak peek at their financial targets for Q2.
Yeah, they're expecting continued growth.
Total revenue between 5.77 and 5.82 billion dollars.
Plus, they've given specific targets for digital media and digital experience.
And EPS guidance for both GAAP and non-GAAP.
And they've reaffirmed their full-year guidance for fiscal 2025.
Assuming, of course, that the economy doesn't completely implode.
Right. But all things considered, it's a pretty stable and predictable outlook.
Definitely. And one last thing, it's clear that the Adobe execs are super bullish on AI.
Oh yeah, they're all in.
They see it as a huge opportunity across all their customer segments.
It's not a threat, it's a tailwind.
They think it's going to drive growth and profitability for years to come.
Absolutely.
So to wrap things up for you, Adobe's Q1 was a home run. Record revenue, strong growth in all their key businesses, and a really smart focus on serving specific customer groups.
And AI is the glue that holds it all together.
It's not just a feature. It's a fundamental shift in how they're thinking about their products and their future.
They're not just riding the AI wave, they're shaping it.
Absolutely. And as you think about all this, consider the broader implications.
What does it mean for the future of creativity?
What does it mean for the way we work?
How will AI change the digital landscape?
These are the big questions we need to be asking ourselves.
Food for thought.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Quarterly Call.
We'll see you next time.
For more episodes, please remember to rate and follow our show. Until next time, stay curious and stay informed.